Back in the day, winning the World Cup was like winning the ultimate badge of honor for football superstars. Think about Pelé and Diego Maradona. They're practically mythical figures thanks to their triumphs on the world stage. But now it's all about the Champions League. Look at Messi and Ronaldo. They have won many cups throughout their careers, but the Champions League is the one that fans value the most. For that reason, this trophy is the one that football legends have always wanted to take home, but unfortunately, many of these iconic players have failed in the attempt. Man, when you think of Ronaldo, you think of the Brazilian striker. He's basically a football deity for old football fans. That number 9 jersey was practically his trademark. He was a phenomenon. From the KNVB Cup to the Intercontinental Cup, from the World Cup to the Copa America, he had his hands on every trophy you can imagine, except one. Yep, you guessed it, the Champions League. His namesake, Cristiano, has 5 of those winners' medals, but our Brazilian Ronaldo? Nope. He never got his hands on that trophy, despite playing for some of the biggest clubs in Europe. PSV, Barcelona, Inter, Madrid, Milan, you name it, he's been there. He even snagged some other big titles along the way, like the Cup Winners' Cup and the UEFA Cup with Inter Milan. Now you'd think with his jaw-dropping performances, especially that unforgettable hat-trick against Manchester United at Old Trafford, he would have lifted old big ears at least once. But nah, that's the one thing missing from his stellar resume. I mean, this guy retired as the top scorer in World Cup history. He was world champion in 1994, that day in which Roberto Baggio missed that well-remembered penalty. He took home the Golden Ball in '98 and scored 2 goals in the 2002 World Cup final. But for some reason, the Champions League just wasn't in the cards for him. When we talk about Ibrahimovic, we talk about someone who believes in their own hype. But hey, can you blame him? Who else can claim they've pulled off a 40-yard bicycle kick like it's just another day at the office? The guy's a legend in his own right. With his iconic looks, that borderline arrogant self-confidence, and that alpha mentality, Zlatan is the epitome of greatness.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic. like, I am Zlatan.
Trophies? Oh, you bet he's got them, no matter where on the globe he played. But despite all his glory, he retired with a record he probably wishes he didn't: the most Champions League appearances without ever getting his hands on the trophy. He left Inter just a year before they clinched the trophy in 2010, and he did the same thing at Barcelona the next summer. And let's not forget his stints at Ajax, Juventus, Milan, PSG, and Manchester United, winning the Europa League with the Red Devils, but never quite sealing the deal in the Champions League. Age is just a number when it comes to goalkeeping, right? When we talk about the greatest goalkeepers of all time, we name dudes like Peter Schmeichel, Oliver Kahn, Edwin van der Sar, Peter Cech, Iker Casillas, Manuel Neuer, and Gianluigi Buffon. But when it comes to Champions League winners, there is an imposter among us. Gianluigi Buffon? What a powerful legend. This guy could have played until he became a living relic, and still, that prestigious big-eared trophy eluded him. As a goalkeeper, he was an absolute beast, and he's been in the trenches for several Champions League finals, but every time, luck just wasn't on his side. He was signed from Parma back in 2001 for a world record fee of €52.88 million. Yeah, that's how big of a deal he was. At that time, that amount of money made him the most expensive goalkeeper in history. A few years later, Chelsea signed Kepa for €80 million, but that's another story. Buffon ended up playing 685 games for Juventus. That's saying something, but despite all his talent and hard work, he's been on the losing end of 3 final defeats with Juve. Can you imagine the heartbreak? Making 2 penalty shootout saves in 2003 only to come up short. Then watching Barcelona and Real Madrid snatch victory from his grasp in 2015 and 2017 respectively. He even tried his luck at PSG, hoping for a shot at the trophy, but ended up returning home a year later. He retired sharing the record for most Champions League appearances without being able to win the trophy with Zlatan. Poor Gigi, he deserved that trophy more than anyone. What hurts more than losing a final? Losing the final when you are already up with a 3-0 lead. Ouch. That's what AC Milan did in the 2005 Champions League final. So let's talk about Hernan Crespo. He scored a tremendous goal against Liverpool that day in Istanbul. It was a masterpiece, no doubt about it. It's got to be up there as one of the greatest goals ever scored in a Champions League final, and definitely the best, by a player on the losing side. Milan's coach Carletto Ancelotti, who practically had to fight tooth and nail to sign Crespo from Chelsea on loan, gave him the nod to start in the final. And man, did he make an impact. Milan had been dominating the game, cruising with a 2-0 lead. Then Crespo unleashed that ice-cold finish, making it 3-0. But they ended up conceding 3 goals in 6 minutes, and then losing on penalties. Despite his brilliance on the field, Crespo's time at Chelsea was a bit rocky. He only played 2 full seasons there, although he did help secure the Premier League title in 2006. But his heart was always drawn back to Milan and Inter with those loan spells. And you know what's heartbreaking? Crespo had to sit there with the photographers and watch Steven Gerrard lift that Champions League trophy. Can you imagine the disappointment? Yeah, he might have snagged 6 league titles, but that elusive Champions League victory? Nah, not for him.
Después, claro, ganamos después 3-0, 3-3 y perdemos por penales. No quería jugar más. No quería jugar más.
Talk about tough luck. Michael knows a thing or two about finishing as the runner-up, not just once but twice with different teams. Now that's gotta sting. First, in 2002, he suffered heartbreak with Bayer Leverkusen. And then, 6 agonizing years later, it happened all over again. This time with Chelsea. In that first final defeat, BALLACK found himself on the wrong end of one of the competition's greatest ever goals. Zinedine Zidane's magnificent volley. Ouch! And as if that wasn't enough, in 2008, he had to watch in disbelief as John Terry and Nicolas Anelka's missed penalties handed the trophy to Manchester United. But hey, at least BALLACK stepped up and scored his own penalty that night. It might not have been enough to secure the win, but it was a small consolation in the face of such disappointment. If we are talking about legends, how can we forget this one? Dennis's final game for Arsenal was the 2006 Champions League final, but unfortunately he spent it on the bench as an unused substitute, while the Gunners fell to Ronaldinho's Barcelona. But let's not forget his other Champions League moments. Back in 2004, he was a part of the Arsenal squad that made it to the last 8, only to be edged out by Chelsea in a London derby. Now, BERGKAMP wasn't a stranger to European success. He had already tasted victory with Ajax and Inter, winning the UEFA Cup in '92 and '94, respectively. But despite his immense talent, the biggest prize in Europe remained just out of reach. One thing that made his journey even more remarkable was his fear of flying, which often saw him sitting out Champions League away games. Yet despite this challenge, BERGKAMP still left an indelible mark on the game and cemented his place as one of football's true greats. And there you have it. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching. Peace out.